Welcome to this channel. Do werewolves really exist in reality? Subscribe now. The Lunar Tide Paradox, the Epic of Symbiotes. Prologue. The blood-colored gears, the dual heartbeats of the quantum dawn. In 2025, the rain-soaked alleys of the London quantum slum glowed with a sickly iridescence. Sarah Carter pressed her broken Leica camera against a rusty ventilation duct. The lens captured a wolf-shaped shadow flashing through the underground tunnel. It was no ordinary werewolf. When the moonlight penetrated the dome, the human fingerprints on its fingertips were clearly visible in the red light of the surveillance camera. 37th sighting, she whispered into the throat microphone, her breath fogging up the viewfinder. The target can retain human characteristics in wolf form, and the gene Lighthouse of the Silver Cross is ineffective against it. Suddenly, the camera trembled violently, and a spider web like blue light appeared on the lens glass, a sign of the resonance between the werewolf spirit gene and the quantum network. Sarah's thoughts were drawn back to the Notre de Paris 9 years ago. At that time, she was just a novice reporter chasing urban legends. But at the moment when the rose window collapsed, she captured the quantum after images of two women. One was wearing a laboratory white coat with a black rose pendant around her neck. The other was cloaked in a wolf-shaped shadow, and a black rose tattoo at the left corner of her eye was bleeding in the moonlight. When the photo was developed, the overlapping palms of the two women showed a gear-shaped birthmark, exactly the same as the werewolf in today's surveillance. "Miss Carter, you've crossed the line," a metallic voice came from behind. Nanometer. Silver mist seeped out from the gaps in the armor of the Silver Cross agent. The gear-shaped silver ornament on the collar glowed coldly. According to Article 17 of the Supernatural Creature Registration Act, unauthorized quantum observations. Sarah turned and ran. The film in the camera was automatically exposing. She turned into an alley filled with a stench. The graffiti of the Silver Cross revival movement on the wall was still wet. In the center of the gear pattern was a wolf's head pierced by a silver sword. The stagnant water at her feet suddenly boiled. She looked down and saw her reflection. A gear-shaped red mark had appeared under her left eye, in exactly the same position as the tattoo of the woman in the photo 9 years ago. Deep in the quantum slum, Kylan Black huddled in an abandoned quantum relay station. Blood was still seeping from her fingertips. The symbiotic tissue of wolf claws and human fingerprints glistened like mother of pearl in the moonlight. The rustling sound of the pocket watch gears came from her chest. Every time it beat, a crack would light up on the birthmark in her palm, a sign of the struggle between the werewolf spirit gene injected by her mother Ava with her life and the virus of the Silver Cross. 3 more symbiote babies have been purified. A scout from the Shadow Clan crawled in through the ventilation duct. His skin was sickly lead gray, and the residue of quantum smoke floated in his pupils. The Silver Cross has built a new gene furnace in the Arctic Circle, using the fragments of Serena's ice sculpture as a catalyst. Kylan pressed the pocket watch, and the blue light on the gear surface suddenly surged. She saw the afterimage of her mother flowing on the metal wall. In the Icelandic blizzard in 2015, Ava stuffed the embryo into the quantum pocket watch, but was pierced through the heart by Serena's silver finger cots. "Remember, moonlight and sunlight have never been opposed." These were the last words she heard. In the 10 years since then, every 1 millimeter rust on the pocket watch gears made her 1 inch further away from her mother's memory. "They want me." Kylan rolled up her sleeve, revealing the bite mark on her forearm that was healing. It was scratched by a rampaging werewolf 3 days ago. Strangely, after the wound healed, ice prism-like patterns appeared, the same as those on Serena's ice sculpture. The werewolf spirit purification virus of the Silver Cross is ineffective against symbiotes. They need my genes to perfect their weapon. Suddenly, the scout twitched all over, and black smoke seeped out from under his leg. Gray skin. The speaker. "She's coming, ... double quotes." His pupils split open, revealing the rotating gear like codes on them. She said that the traitors of the Blood Moon clan must atone for their sins with their memories. Kylan took a half step back, and the pocket watch gears rotated in reverse. On the walls of the quantum relay station, all the graffiti of Ava faded at the same time, replaced by the ice sculpture projection of Serena, the ice sculpture that sealed the consciousness of the first werewolf king. At this moment, a crack appeared in the chest, revealing the curled-up baby silhouette inside. Kylan suddenly remembered her baby photo. The pocket watch gears were embedded in her palm, and around the birthmark were intertwined patterns of black roses and gears, exactly the same as the baby in the ice sculpture. The ground suddenly shook, and the mechanical wolf pack of the silver cross broke through the ceiling. Kylan instinctively clenched the pocket watch, and the taste of rust exploded on her tongue. The bonfire before her mother's death suddenly materialized in her palm. It was not an ordinary flame, but a gear-shaped light blade condensed from countless memory fragments. The head of the first mechanical wolf disintegrated under the light blade, revealing the core chip engraved with 0428 inside. Another 0428. Sarah raised her camera in the dark. After the lens was burned by the werewolf spirit energy, it could always capture quantum after images. She saw black rose vines coiling around Kylan's wolf-shaped outline, and at the quantum level, the girl's gene chain was in a triangular resonance with the Arctic ice sculpture and the rose window of Notre Dame. Even more astonishingly, 0428 on the mechanical wolf chip was exactly the same as her mother's work permit number and Leon's sister's date of death. Miss Carter, I advise you to put down the camera. The familiar voice came from the shadows. Leon Drake walked out of the smoke. Blue blood, unique to vampires, was still seeping from his left chest. The blood silk like quantum codes in his pupils were scanning for Kylan's position. The gene lighthouse of the Silver Cross has locked the resonance frequency of the symbiotes. If you expose it now, you will only accelerate their purification plan. Sarah turned and aimed at his forehead. Mr. Drake, why did your sister's work permit appear in the hands of a symbiote? And what exactly did your father, Dr. Lucas, create in the Cambridge laboratory? In the viewfinder of the camera, Leon's pupils suddenly split into 3 overlapping images, a sign of the loss of control of the quantum clone. In the distance, Kylan's wolf howled. Sarah saw a silver light cutting through the night sky. The ice sculpture projection of Serena appeared on the top of the quantum relay station. Her silver fingercots were dripping with blood, and each blood drop condensed into a gear shape in the air. Hand over the symbiote. The voice of the projection was like a glacier breaking. Otherwise, the last bond between humans and supernatural creatures will collapse with the Arctic blood moon. Kylan tightened the gear, shaped light blade in her hand. She could hear 2 heartbeats deep in the pocket watch. One was her mother's, gentle and firm. The other was Serena's, cold with cracks. When the nano-silver missiles of the Silver Cross penetrated the ceiling, she finally made a choice, stabbing the light blade into the birthmark in her palm. Blood splashed on the pocket watch gears, and the rusty metal suddenly buzzed. Sarah's camera captured an incredible scene. Kylan's wolf-shaped body was splitting. One half was a wolf's body covered with ice prisms, and the other half was the arm of a human girl. And the birthmark in her palm had now formed a complete gear system with Serena's ice sculpture and Ava's pendant. So that's it, ... double quotes, Leon whispered. The blue blood pooled on the ground into a complex quantum matrix. Symbiotes are not failures, but living anchors connecting the physical world and the spiritual world. The blue light wolf shadow that Lucas saw in the Petri dish back then was not a werewolf spirit, but ... His words were drowned out by the explosion. Kylan's body turned into thousands of gear-shaped streamers of light, and each streamer reflected different memory fragments. Ava smiling in the laboratory, Serena crying in the Arctic, and a baby sleeping in the quantum pocket watch. Sarah instinctively pressed the shutter and the film automatically developed in the dark box. The final photo showed 3 overlapping symbols formed by all the fragments: a black rose, a gear, and a wolf's paw. When the Silver Cross agents rushed into the relay station, there was only a mess of gear debris on the ground. Sarah held the newly developed photo and found a line of blood, written words at the bottom. It was an ancient werewolf language written with werewolf spirit energy, which translated into human language as just 4 words. Symbiosis. Under the Arctic ice sea, Serena's ice sculpture finally shattered completely. Her consciousness floated with the broken ice. For the last time, she touched the black rose pendant on her chest. Inside the pendant, Ava's initials AB finally overlapped with her NN, forming a perfect gear engagement at the quantum level. In the distance, the first crack appeared on the Arctic blood moon. the moonlight penetrated the crack and projected the silhouette of a girl on the ice surface. In her palm, the light of intertwined gears and black roses was shining. This episode ends, but the story continues. Subscribe now.